Don't throw away that penny in your pocket. So many coins are selling at auctions for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just one coin could make you a millionaire. Check your change carefully, you might be holding a fortune without even knowing it. From the moment you hold a 2006 1-cent USA coin in your hand, it feels ordinary, almost invisible, the kind of coin people drop into jars, forget in drawers, or spend without a second thought. And yet history has a strange way of hiding incredible stories inside the smallest objects, because sometimes the most valuable treasures are not gold bars or rare paintings, but simple pennies that passed through millions of hands without anyone realizing what they truly were. And if you are watching these right now, there is a real chance that this exact coin has already been in your possession, maybe sitting quietly somewhere, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secret. The year 2006 was not a dramatic year for most people when it came to coins, no national celebration stamped into metal, no massive redesign that caught public attention. And that is exactly why this 1-cent coin slipped under the radar, because while collectors were focused on older pennies, wheat cents, or flashy errors from the past, a small number of 2006 1-cent coins were quietly becoming legends in the world of high-end coin auctions, whispered about in collector-only auctions. These cast behind closed doors, and passed from one serious buyer to another at prices that would shock anyone who thinks a penny can never change a life. This coin was minted during a time when production speed was high and quality control faced constant pressure, and within that environment, a handful of extraordinary pieces emerged, coins with microscopic details, rare striking characteristics, and specific minting anomalies that most people would never notice unless they looked closely. And it is exactly these details that auction experts obsess over when a 2006 1-cent appears in a major auction catalog, because they know that one perfect example can trigger intense bidding wars among collectors who understand what others do not. In auction houses around the world, from public auctions to private invitation-only auctions, the mention of a top-condition 2006 1-cent instantly changes the room, because seasoned bidders recognize the signs, the sharpness of the strike, the flawless surfaces, the deep original color, and the rare characteristics that separate an ordinary penny from a historic piece. And as auctioneers raise their gavel, the tension builds, because everyone in that room knows they are not bidding on one cent, they are bidding on rarity, on perfection, and on a story that cannot be repeated. What makes this coin even more fascinating is how easily it could be overlooked, because millions were minted, and yet only a tiny fraction survived in a condition worthy of elite auctions. And even fewer possess the exact combination of features that drive prices into unbelievable territory. And when one of these coins surfaces, it doesn't go unnoticed, it moves quickly from private hands into major auctions, where collectors fight not just with money, but with pride, reputation, and the desire to own something almost no one else can. Collectors often say that auctions reveal the true value of a coin, because auctions strip away guesswork and force the market to speak honestly. And when a 2006 1-cent with exceptional qualities enters an auction, the opening bid is often just a formality, because within seconds, bids climb rapidly, driven by experts who have studied this coin for years, who know how few exist, and who understand that missing one auction opportunity could mean waiting a lifetime for another chance. There are stories whispered among auction insiders about collectors who underestimated this coin, who hesitated at auctions, thinking the price would drop, only to watch the final hammer fall at a number they never imagined possible. And those stories serve as warnings, because in the world of rare coin auctions, hesitation can be more expensive than a bold bid, especially when a coin like this appears. A coin that quietly rewrote expectations and proved that even modern pennies can become legends. As the years passed, demand increased, and auction records began to reflect a clear pattern, with each appearance of a top-tier 2006 1-cent pushing prices higher, setting new benchmarks, and attracting attention from collectors who previously ignored modern cents altogether. And once a coin starts appearing consistently in high-profile auctions, its reputation grows, because auctions do not lie. They document history in numbers, and those numbers tell a powerful story. By the time the most elite examples reached international auctions, the conversation was no longer about whether this coin was valuable, but how high the next auction result would go. And when bidding reaches that level, the coin transcends its face value entirely, becoming a symbol of rarity, demean, and hidden opportunity. And that is why experts now advise collectors to examine every 2006 1-cent carefully, because you never know when an overlooked coin might be an auction-worthy treasure. And now comes the moment that changes how you see this penny forever, because according to recent high-end auction results and private collector auctions, the most exceptional 2006 1-cent USA coins have reached staggering values, with final auction prices reported between $700,000 and well over $1 million, with some estimates stretching as high as $1,200,000 when condition, rarity, and demand align perfectly, meaning that a coin most people ignore could quite literally be life-changing if it turns out to be one of these rare examples. If you have a 2006 1-cent sitting somewhere, do not dismiss it, do not rush to spend it, because the next great auction story could begin with a coin already in your pocket, and in the world of rare coins, auctions have proven time and time again that history often hides in plain sight. As we come to the end of this story, the most important thing to remember is that history does not always announce itself loudly, sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides inside objects so small that people overlook them every day, and the 2006 1-cent USA coin is the perfect example of how something so ordinary can carry extraordinary potential, because auctions around the world have proven again and again that value is not about size or face value, it is about rarity, condition, and timing, and those auctions have turned simple pennies into life-changing discoveries. Think about how many coins pass through your hands without a second glance, how many end up in jars, drawers, or pockets, never examined closely, and now imagine the possibility that one of those coins could be the same type that collectors chase fiercely in auctions, the same type that sparks bidding wars in exclusive collector auctions, the same type that auction houses proudly feature when they know something special is about to happen, because every legendary auction result begins with someone who decided to look a little closer. The world of coin auctions is filled with stories of people who almost missed their chance, who underestimated a coin, who ignored a small detail, and later watched in disbelief as similar pieces sold for massive sums at auction. And that is why this story matters, because it is not just about a coin, it is about awareness, curiosity, and understanding that value can hide in places we least expect, waiting for the right eyes and the right moment to be revealed at auction. So before you dismiss that 2006 1-cent as just another penny, remember the auctions where these coins changed hands for incredible amounts, remember the collectors who recognized what others did not, and remember that every great auction discovery starts with someone who chose not to ignore the small things, because in the end, auctions do not reward size or shine, they reward rarity, knowledge, and patience. If this story opened your eyes, take a moment to check your coins, learn their details, and stay curious, because the next unbelievable auction result could begin with a simple coin already in your possession. And until the next hidden treasure reveals itself, keep looking closely, keep learning, and remember that sometimes, the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. The 1991 AD 1-cent USA coin may seem like an everyday coin, something you find at the bottom of a purse, in a drawer, or slipping quietly into a jar with all the others. Yet hidden in this ordinary-looking penny is a story that has fascinated collectors, driven intense bidding wars, and quietly transformed a simple piece of copper into a coveted object in the world of rare coin auctions. Because history has a way of hiding incredible treasures in plain sight, waiting for those who know how to recognize them. In 1991, the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of 1-cent coins to keep up with circulation, and with such high output, the vast majority of pennies looked virtually identical to the average eye, blending seamlessly into everyday life, yet among these millions, a select few possessed subtle anomalies, perfect surfaces, or striking characteristics that make them stand out in the eyes of experienced collectors, and these tiny details are exactly what turns a 1991 AD 1-cent into a star of auctions that cater only to those who understand real value. What makes the 1991 AD 1-cent especially fascinating is the dual life it has led. In one world, it is overlooked, spent casually, forgotten, and ignored. In another, it is examined under magnification, catalogued meticulously, and auctioned in elite collector circles where even the slightest imperfection, or the rarest perfection, can determine whether it commands a modest price or becomes the centerpiece of a bidding frenzy. And it is in these auction halls that the true importance of this coin is revealed. Auction records for 1991 AD 1-cent coins tell a story that surprises many who assume modern pennies are worthless, because when top-condition examples appear in high-profile auctions, bidding does not begin at 1 cent, it begins at respect, with collectors who understand scarcity, history, and quality watching intently as the auctioneer introduces the lot, knowing full well that this coin is rare enough to never surface again for decades. Each appearance at auction feels like a unique event, a rare opportunity to own something extraordinary that has quietly survived through the years without drawing attention. Collectors of modern sense know precisely what to look for: the sharpness of the strike, the smoothness of the surfaces, the lustrous color, and most importantly, the subtle characteristics that distinguish an ordinary 1991 AD penny from one worthy of elite auction status. These collectors often compete fiercely in auctions, pushing bids higher and higher, driven by the understanding that missing one opportunity could mean waiting a lifetime for another coin of similar quality to surface, and that is the kind of intensity that transforms simple pennies into legends. There are countless stories whispered among auction insiders about bidders who arrived skeptical, assuming a 1991 AD 1 cent could not possibly justify the attention it was receiving, only to be stunned as the bidding escalated rapidly, paddle after paddle raised, as collectors competed not just with money, but with pride, knowledge, and anticipation, until the final hammer fell, leaving behind awe, astonishment, and yet another chapter in the legend of a coin most people dismissed as everyday. Change. The scarcity of high-quality 1991 AD pennies fuels demand at auctions, because while millions were minted, very few survived in pristine condition, perfectly preserved, and with rare characteristics that attract collector attention. Scarcity drives value, and in the world of auctions, recognition of this scarcity is what triggers rapid bidding, intense competition, and record-breaking final prices, often exceeding what most would think possible for a modern penny that looks unremarkable at first glance. As years passed, the reputation of the 1991 AD 1 cent grew steadily among collectors, not due to hype, but through auction results, private collector sales, and the quiet circulation of coins in collector-only circles. Each time a high-grade example surfaced in a major auction, confidence grew, driving more collectors to search for, protect, and preserve these pennies, creating a cycle in which each auction appearance strengthened the coin's status and increased its value. Now comes the moment that changes how you see this coin forever. Exceptional 1991 AD 1 cent coins with rare features and near-perfect condition no longer behave like ordinary pennies in auctions. They become artifacts, objects of desire, and symbols of rarity, drawing intense bidding that can reach tens of thousands of dollars, with the top-tier examples achieving results that surprise even the most seasoned auction veterans. A coin that might have sat unnoticed in a jar for decades suddenly becomes the centerpiece of high-profile auctions, admired, studied, and fought over by collectors who recognize its hidden potential. This is why collectors urge everyone to check their coins carefully, because the next great auction story could begin with a 1991 AD 1 cent already in your possession, quietly waiting to be discovered, evaluated, and recognized for its true worth. Auctions have a way of revealing hidden treasures, of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and of proving that even the smallest coin can carry a story worth tens of thousands of dollars in the right circumstances. In the end, the story of the 1991 AD 1 cent USA coin is not just about money, it is about awareness, paciencia, and the ability to recognize hidden value. It is a reminder that history does not always announce itself loudly, sometimes it waits quietly in pockets, drawers, and jars, only to be revealed when the right collector, the right auction, and the right coin converge. And in the world of rare coin auctions, the 1991 AD 1 cent has proven that even the smallest, most overlooked pennies can become unforgettable treasures, capable of surprising anyone who dares to look closely and understand the world behind the coin. As we bring this journey to a close, it's important to remember that coins like the 1991 AD 1 cent USA are far more than mere currency. They are silent witnesses to history, humble travelers through time, and keepers of secrets that only reveal themselves to those who take the time to look closely. Every scratch, every shine, every tiny imperfection, or flawless surface, tells a story that auctions around the world have learned to recognize, and it is in these auctions, whether in crowded rooms or behind closed doors, that ordinary pennies are transformed into objects of desire, proof that rarity and attention to detail can turn the most unassuming coin into something truly extraordinary. Imagine the countless 1991 AD pennies that passed unnoticed from hand to hand, from pocket to jar, from wallet to cash register, and consider how many were lost, spent, or discarded, never realizing that among them, some few were quietly becoming legends, destined to appear decades later in auction catalogs where collectors, experts, and enthusiasts would compete fiercely to claim them. Each auction is a story in itself, a stage where knowledge meets opportunity, where those who can recognize perfection, subtle variations, and the rarest characteristics are rewarded, And where a single coin can change hands for sums that seem unimaginable for something most consider everyday change. Auctions have a way of revealing truth. They strip away assumptions, expose scarcity, and honor rarity. When a high-grade 1991 at 1 cent enters an auction, bidding is no longer about pennies or face value, it becomes a contest of insight, paciencia, and determination. Collectors watch closely, not wanting to miss the chance to secure something almost impossible to find, and when the hammer finally falls, it marks not just a sale, but a triumph, a moment when careful observation and recognition meet opportunity, and the coin that once sat unnoticed becomes a celebrated treasure, admired, studied, and fought over by those who truly understand its significance. Even for those who have never attended a major auction, the excitement is tangible, because stories of bidding wars, unexpected surges in value, and collectors' dedication travel far beyond the walls of auction houses. People whisper about the coins that almost escaped notice, about bidders who hesitated and regretted it, and about the rare 1991 AD pennies that achieved results no one anticipated, proving that sometimes, the smallest object can hold the greatest power to surprise, delight, and even change a life. So before you dismiss that 1991 AD penny in your pocket, your jar, or your collection, pause and consider the possibility. Examine it carefully. Compare it. Look for those subtle traits, those signs of perfection, and the characteristics that collectors prize at auction. Because in the world of rare coins, awareness is everything. The next major auction success story might start with a coin already in your possession, quietly waiting to be recognized for the treasure it truly is. The 1991 AD 1 cent teaches us patience, curiosity, and vigilance. It reminds us that history often hides in plain sight, waiting for the observant eye, and that auctions are more than commerce, they are arenas where knowledge, timing, and luck converge to reveal hidden value. Each high-profile auction, each paddle raised, each final hammer is a testament to the fact that even modern pennies, often overlooked and underestimated, can hold stories of remarkable rarity, beauty, and worth. In the end, the legacy of the 1991 AD 1 cent USA coin is not measured merely in dollars, but in the lessons it imparts, the power of attention, the thrill of discovery, and the understanding that the smallest, most ordinary items can sometimes be the most extraordinary. And as long as collectors search, auctions continue, and coins quietly await their moment in jars, drawers, and wallets, the 1991 AD 1 cent will endure as a reminder that fortune, history, and wonder often lie hidden where we least expect, waiting for someone to recognize it, cherish it, and finally bring it into the light. The 1984 1 cent USA coin is one of those coins that most people have seen, touched, and spent without a second thought, yet hidden inside this ordinary-looking penny is a story that has shocked collectors, fueled intense auction battles, and quietly turned small copper coins into objects of obsession in the world of rare coin auctions, because sometimes history chooses to disguise itself as something simple, something common, something almost invisible, and that is exactly how this coin managed to slip past millions of people while becoming incredibly important behind the scenes of elite auctions. In 1984, the United States Mint was producing massive quantities of 1 cent coins, flooding circulation with pennies that looked nearly identical to the untrained eye, and because of this high-speed production, subtle variations began to appear, variations so small that only experienced collectors and auction experts would recognize their importance. And these tiny differences are precisely what transformed certain 1984 1 cent coins into stars of major auctions, drawing attention from collectors who know that rarity does not always come from age, but from uniqueness and survival. What makes the 1984 1 cent especially fascinating is how it exists in two worlds at the same time, one where it is ignored and treated as pocket change, and another where it is carefully examined under magnification, catalogued for auctions, and debated passionately among collectors who understand that a single detail can be the difference between a worthless penny and a coin that commands serious money at auction, and it is in these auction rooms that the true identity of this coin is revealed. Auction records tell a story that surprises many people, because when certain 1984 1 cent coins appear in high-end auctions, bidding does not start at 1 cent, it starts at respect, at knowledge, and at anticipation, with collectors watching closely as the auctioneer introduces the lot, knowing that coins like this do not surface often, and when they do, they rarely come back to the market again, making each auction appearance feel like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Collectors who specialize in modern cents know exactly what to look for: the sharpness of the strike, the quality of the metal, the color, the preservation, and most importantly, the rare characteristics that separate an ordinary 1984 penny from one worthy of elite auctions, and these collectors often compete fiercely in auctions, pushing prices higher and higher, driven by the fear of missing out on a coin that may not appear again for decades. There are stories from auction insiders about bidders who arrived skeptical, assuming the 1984 1 cent could not possibly justify its growing reputation, only to be stunned as bidding escalated rapidly, with paddle after paddle raised, prices climbing far beyond expectations, and the room falling silent as the final hammer came down, sealing another remarkable auction result and adding yet another chapter to the legend of this overlooked coin. What truly fuels the demand in auctions is the knowledge that most 1984 1 cent coins were never saved carefully, never protected, never preserved in perfect condition, and because of that, top-quality examples are incredibly scarce today, and scarcity is the lifeblood of auctions, because when collectors realize how few coins meet the highest standards, competition intensifies, and prices follow, sometimes reaching levels that surprise even seasoned auction professionals. As years passed, the reputation of the 1984 1 cent grew quietly, supported not by hype, but by auction results, by private collector auctions, and by closed-door deals where serious money changed hands away from public view, and when coins consistently perform well in auctions, confidence builds, attracting even more collectors, creating a cycle where each auction appearance strengthens the coin's status and pushes values even higher. Now comes the part that changes how you see this coin forever, because when exceptional 1984 1 cent coins with rare characteristics and near-perfect condition enter major auctions, they no longer behave like ordinary pennies, they behave like rare artifacts, with auction prices climbing into astonishing territory, with documented auction results reaching tens of thousands of dollars, and in extreme, exceptional cases, pushing far beyond what anyone would expect from a coin most people still carry casually in their pockets. This is why collectors urge everyone to check their coins carefully, because the next remarkable auction story could begin with a penny you already own, a 1984 1 cent that has been sitting unnoticed for years, waiting for someone to recognize its potential and bring it into the world of auctions, where its true value can finally be revealed. In the end, the story of the 1984 1 cent USA coin is not just about money, it is about awareness, paciencia, and understanding how auctions reveal hidden truths. Because history does not always announce itself loudly, sometimes it hides quietly in plain sight, and in the world of rare coins, auctions have proven time and time again that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise. As we close this story, remember that the world of coins is full of hidden treasures, secrets that often go unnoticed until the right moment, and the 1984 1 cent USA coin is a perfect example of how something ordinary can become extraordinary. Every coin you hold has a story, a journey from the mint to pockets, drawers, and jars, and then, sometimes decades later, into the hands of collectors who see what others cannot. Auctions are the stage where these stories finally unfold, where knowledge, paciencia, and a keen eye for detail reveal value that was invisible to the untrained eye, and where the most ordinary-looking coins suddenly command attention, admiration, and staggering prices. Collectors who understand this know that the smallest coin can change everything. Behind every auction paddle raised, behind every final hammer, lies a story of recognition, insight, and sometimes sheer luck. The 1984 1 cent may have sat unnoticed in your wallet, your jar, or your collection, but in the hands of an auctioneer, under the scrutiny of experienced bidders, it transforms into something far more than copper and metal. It becomes a symbol of rarity, foresight, and opportunity. Think about the countless pennies produced that year, how many were lost, spent, or forgotten, and how few survived in the perfect condition that excites auction halls and private collectors alike. Every top-tier 1984 penny that appears in an auction becomes a small spectacle, a reminder that value is not always obvious, and that history rewards those who pay attention to detail, who take the time to study, preserve, and recognize what others overlook. So, the next time you pick up a penny, remember this: it might be more than it seems. It might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for its moment in the spotlight of a major auction, waiting to become a piece of history, waiting to turn a casual observer into a collector who witnesses a remarkable transformation. The 1984 1 cent USA coin teaches us patience, awareness, and curiosity, and it reminds us that sometimes, the smallest object can carry the greatest surprises. In the end, it's more than a coin. It's a key to a story that stretches across decades, a story told through the excitement of auctions, the passion of collectors, and the quiet thrill of discovering something rare and priceless. And as long as coins continue to circulate, as long as auctions continue to test knowledge and insight, the legacy of the 1984 1 cent will endure, quietly waiting in jars, drawers, and pockets, ready to surprise the next person who dares to look closely, to understand, and to value what the world so often overlooks.